You took a journalist and put them there undercover in one of the most dangerous places in Europe.
The one thing that I don't think anyone has done to the level that we have was get inside the camps and show the inner workings of them. But what we found, that actually shocked me. They did, I think it was 6 crossings, 1,000 people came over.
They see us as a soft touch, no? That's it.
The idea that we can win, that the gangs can be smashed is false. There has got to be some kind of radical alternative with it. It's not working. It's as simple as that. And look,
hello and welcome to this very special edition of the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Nisjobi, and once again, I'm reunited with our investigations editor, Zak Garner-Purkis. Zaki boy, you've been busy since I last spoke to you. If you're not taking down Keir Starmer or exposing Sadiq Khan, you're going to France, Dunkirk, and you're infiltrating the migrant camps.
Yeah, JJ, we put someone in undercover.
Wow. So you took a journalist and put them there undercover in one of the most dangerous places in Europe.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I've been to Calais and Dunkirk over a number of years. I've followed the French police around and seen all the mischief that they've got up to. I've kind of tracked migrants as they've gone down to the beaches. The one thing that I don't think anyone has done to the level that we have was get inside the camps and show the inner workings of them. But what we found, that actually shocked me.
Wow. So what did you see inside the Dunkirk migrant camps?
Well, the crazy thing about it was how quickly everything was able to be done. So within, we put our undercover in, and within 20 minutes of being in there, he sent me a message to say, I've got the number of a guy who says that he's a fixer. He says that he's getting a free journey to the UK in exchange for piloting the boat, and that he was going to help him to arrange to get travel over there. Within 2 hours, he was stood there with Kurdish traffickers cutting a deal to come to Britain.
I'm from Albania. We don't have money.
1,800.
1,800.
Yes, cash.
Cash.
Yes.
Flipping heck. So what else did your undercover reporter find? Tell us everything.
Well, the remarkable thing about this is that, so the thing I think about the small boats that really riles people up is just how brazen it is, right? Mm-hmm. We've got all this technology, we've got all these authorities, and yet this little boat can just go right the way through, kind of illegally go into British waters.
Yeah.
We get picked up and taken to the UK. Now, you would think that the trafficking aspect of it, that the people profiting from this whole thing would hide their operations a bit, right?
Yeah.
Hide them from the police, hide them from, potentially other migrants or, undercover journalists that might be in there, right? Not. So what we found was that where the charity sort of outreach tents are, next to that was a market where you're walking around and it's just got life jackets sort of pinned up. And you just buy a life jacket. I mean, completely unsafe and for an inflated price. People selling blocks of hashish, other drugs, buy hot food. I mean, essentially, and they're all Kurdish as well. And we found connected to, or certainly have association with, the people that were cutting deals for these migrants to come to the UK.
Okay, so hashish, for those listening or watching who don't know what that is, that's basically marijuana.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's mostly Kurdish people who are doing these, who are running this part of the...
Oh, yeah, it's like a Kurdish market. And we know that the majority, or actually, the Kurdish criminal groups have locked down the small boat crossings. Like, they are the people that control that. So it's just incredible that there's this area of the migrant camp that's so clearly profiting from the trade, and that we were easily able to establish, had smugglers that were a part of it, that is just existing there. And look, JJ, here's the kicker, right? You might go, well, what do the police know? Shortly before we put our undercover reporter in, we dropped him off at our safe location. We were driving past and we were like, oh my goodness, about 12 police vans in there, all filled with officers. And they were clearing the Kurdish market. So before he'd gone in, they were clearing the market, and then obviously it just popped back up again. Didn't take anyone away, didn't arrest anyone.
When you say clearing the market, what do you mean?
I mean, literally, they've got like a mini digger fit, and they're dismantling it and getting rid of it. So does that suggest that they know what's going on there? Yeah. Does that suggest that it's pretty obvious? But get this, JJ, even more crazy, right? After we'd put in the reporter undercover, me and my colleague, the producer on this, we went in to just we wanted to confront the people selling life jackets and the people selling drugs and see whether we could see the traffickers in there as well. They just sat there. I mean, I went to the guy, you're selling drugs, he pulled his
balaclava.
It was sort of like a snooty thing up a bit and just goes, yes, like that. Went up to the guy selling life jackets and they just didn't care. And even we managed to see the actual smugglers there, and I was, shouting at them questions.
Excuse me, my friend, are you part of Traffickers? Are you trafficking people to the UK? We've got a video of you taking a guy to the UK. Are you trafficking people to the UK? You're walking away. We've got a video of you taking a migrant, promising to take him to the UK.
They obviously they didn't answer them, they kind of ducked away, but it wasn't like they were panicked with what was going on. It's just happening out there in the open. Is it any wonder? And then, is it any wonder that in the days that followed us, our investigation, they did, I think it was 6 crossings, 1,000 people came over. And to put this into perspective, right, each of those people pay between £1,000 and £2,000. So that's £1 million to £2 million that they made, and they're not even hiding.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 questions to follow up from that. First, when Keir Starmer says we're going to smash the gangs, you've already discovered that these gangs are being run by the Kurdish criminals. So really, he could just get the strongest, greatest armies we have, go down to this camp, round up all of the Kurdish criminals and deport them.
Well, the other crazy thing about it is that when you see the pictures of the boats when they're loading up, right, the system that they have is this taxi boat system. So how it works is that a couple of guys will launch the boat at some other location and then they'll just bring it into a beach that's got like 70 to 100 migrants and they will all just run. So the pictures that you see of people running, they'll run and they'll get on the boat. Now, you'll notice that the people pulling, like the ethnic origin of the people running from the beaches is very different, and they are dressed very differently in terms of like a lot, their clothes are a lot more worn down than the guys who are on the boat that often have like pretty fancy haircuts, in some cases little bits of jewelry, that are pulling them on. And I look at those pictures and I'm like, well, I can see who's the potential trafficker there.
Yeah.
Why can't the police? I mean, maybe they are, but if this smashing is happening, it's clearly not working. And clearly the authorities in France haven't got the memo about smashing the gangs.
So these Kurdish criminals with their Turkish barbershop hairstyles, perhaps incredible, absolutely incredible. My other question from all of this is, where are these people getting the money from? Because you're saying, essentially, I'm thinking sub-Saharan African immigrants jumping on the boats, but they're coming with literally nothing, but they're able to source €2,000 from somewhere.
I mean, the only way that you do it is you make a promise to someone bad, that you start doing work for someone that is, criminal work. Gosh. When we were going through another part of Calais, we found the police, and this is another element of it, right? So we arrived just after a period of about 2 weeks of bad weather, not possible to do any crossings. The forecast showed that it was going to be clearing up it was the bank holiday weekend, right?
Right.
So, and the French police had gone around clearing all of the migrant camps before this period of good weather, which, if you think, it's pretty interesting timing, right? You've had 2 weeks of bad weather where you can't do any crossings. And then right before it becomes possible to cross, you make all of these migrants homeless. Where do you think they are going to go? What do you think they're going to do?
So are you saying, Zach, or are you suggesting, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you suggesting that these French officers, whom we've paid, 600 million quid to France, are you suggesting that they are deliberately doing this to push these migrants across to us?
I mean, what I would say is that if I'm Yvette Cooper and I'm sat down with my French counterpart, I'd be going, what on earth were you doing? Why did you clear? Because the French police don't make, and the French authorities, they often don't make any attempt to know who the people in the camps are. And if you just if you displace them and they already want to come to the UK, they're going to try and go down to the beaches. So, that seemed like a move that would prompt more people to attempt to cross. It's not just that it's like puts so many more people's lives in danger. It puts £2 million in the pockets of the traffickers who are just brazenly going about their business.
Yeah.
And just going back to the point that you made before about where did they get the money from? When they were, as they were booting people out of these camps, I noticed like a packet, what looked like drugs in a little kind of like baggie. And why was that there? Why was that amongst the debris that, the other kind of sleeping bags and tents and all the rest of it? I mean, it suggests that there might be criminal network. Well, we know that there are criminal networks that already have their kind of,
their
claws into them. So you go, okay, how they get the money to come to the UK? Well, someone's footed the bill.
Yeah. Right, a quick pause in the podcast to tell you about our sponsor, Incogni. You had those phone calls from numbers you don't recognise, or you go in your inbox and there's emails for stuff you did not sign up for. Well, that's because someone somewhere is selling your private information. That's where today's sponsor comes in, Incogni. They will contact these people who have been taking your information and they'll say, oi, stop, delete it. Go to the website, incogni.com, you type in the details, 2 minutes later, Incogni are sorting it out for you automatically. And because I love you, I've got you a discount. It ain't 10%, it ain't 20, 60% off. 60% off an annual Incogni plan. Just go to incogni.com/Daily Expresso or click the link in the episode description box below. Jeez. So the traffickers don't care about the police. They really don't care. The cops are there whatsoever. But how organised were the trafficking networks that you encountered?
I mean,
is it a case of like we've got 200 guys, because it is mostly guys I see in the videos. There's 200 guys. They've all paid their £1,000 to £2,000, and then all 200 go to the beach. The boat pulls up, and it's just a case of right between you 200, the first 110 of you can get on this boat. And everyone, is it like that? It's just a free for all, or is it a case of is your ticket, lad? About 3 p.m. today, get to that beach, you'll get your boat.
Well, it's interesting actually because what are there's sort of tiers of service, right? And what our undercover reporter found was that the guy said, "Oh right, okay." Once they cut the deal, it was like, "Okay, you follow this other member of the group. He's going to take you. You're going to get your tent, and we're going to like know where you're going to sleep."
Oh, they give them a tent.
Well, I think
it's
it was
full service.
It was like a non-profit that gives the tent out, but it was like
controlled by the gangsters.
Yeah, or like they know where everyone is. There were areas within the camps that had been fenced off. That they'd put fences up in there. If you couldn't just go in there and start camping necessarily, or people would soon find out who you were. And then what happened was we had to pull our guy out of there because what happened was he was sort of in one spot, and then it was like, okay, the trafficker wants to find you and obviously get his money.
Crikey. Well, if you're enjoying this interview so far, please make sure you like, share and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. So many of you are watching our shows repeatedly. You're watching Zak's amazing shows on YouTube too, but you're not subscribing. You're coming back just off your own back. Just subscribe, then you won't miss a single thing. So hit the subscribe button right now. Zak, what were the traffickers like when you met them face to face? I'm not a soft guy, but I'd be pretty terrified in a migrant camp going around and poking the bears.
Well, look, they didn't like us. And the way that this is that it's a group. There are the people connected to the group. We were being warned repeatedly they're going to smash your camera. They were throwing rocks at us, a mango, a full can of Coke. It was intimidation. It was, I mean, I don't know whether throwing. Well, I mean, I guess it is violence of some regard.
Yeah.
We kind of have to move ourselves into certain positions that were safe because they also had like open fires with boiling kettles that were set up all around. And actually, when we saw the trafficker the first time, I was like, to the producer, like, we can't walk around there because if we walk around there, we're going to have boiling kettles behind us. And obviously, you don't want a situation where you've got a very dangerous weapon potentially behind you. But yeah, no, look, they they didn't engage with us. We were warned. It was get out of there, either verbally, they're going to smash your camera. Shouting, swearing, just the way they while I'm throwing stuff as well. I mean, look, let's be perfectly frank. We were sensible about it, but even then, it was a risky situation, and obviously, as it developed, we then eventually had to leave. When we came face to face with the traffickers, obviously we did confront them, but after as more and more objects kept being pelted, we did have to get out of there.
Flipping heck! I went to a camp in Calais maybe 6-7 years ago, and it was nothing like this. This was in the early days. The problem wasn't anything like this back then. It was the early days. There were no charities set up there. As I call it a camp, it was more like a couple hundred people sat under a bridge. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything like this. But it's incredible how much money these criminal gangs are making. You say a couple million quid over a weekend, and the government isn't thinking, right, you have embedded someone within that camp, and the government has all this resource, and they haven't got the same ideas. They can't think we should embed people in the camp, and then we can identify who's who, and then we can smash the gangs, as Starmer says.
Well, in France, you can use evidence gathered in subterfuge in a criminal prosecution. You can't do that in this country. So actually, they have more tools at their disposal if they did just put someone in there.
Yeah.
What's the conversation? Look, they do bust some of these groups, but the ones that are just there, picking people up. So I couldn't believe how easy it was. I was stunned. We had a 3-day plan. We'd wrapped it up in a couple of hours. And we had to pull our guy out because it was like he had a flipping smuggler chasing him for cash.
Gosh. So what was it that struck you most about the market operating system?
Well, but just the thing was that it was so clearly, if something is profiting from it. Now, the answer that I got when I spoke to some of the non-profits was, these people are raising the money in order to pay for the crossings. But I was like, well, why are all of them Kurdish? And also, why are they linked into the trafficking network? I think that's what is so surprising, is how obvious it is. Because, look, with a lot of smuggling, it plays on the grey areas. So it plays on the fact of, you don't know whether that person is an asylum seeker or whether they're a smuggler. And they're constantly blurring those lines, and they know what to say. But I think the thing beyond that was so shocking was that people who had been booted out of other EU countries were, well, in one case, completely willing to, on camera talking to me, say, I'm an illegal. I was living illegally for 16 years in the Netherlands, but I'm going to come and try. They've kicked me out, but I'm going to go try and get asylum in the UK because I think that I'll do better there. What our undercover reporter got was even more explosive, because he started having a conversation with a guy from Iran, and he said, he said, what are you coming to the UK for? And the guy said, it was like gang. And he was like, drugs. He was like, drugs, stab, shoot. So he was just admitted that he had a criminal record in Denmark, that he was fleeing from, that Denmark had booted him out. And that his reasoning for coming to the UK was, they can't send me back to another part of the EU. So I'll be all right to be there. I mean, and some of these guys that you meet them, they're pretty gnarly, scars down the faces, tattooed up in a way that, if you've come from Iran, has some very serious meanings.
So these guys, and I keep saying guys because it's mostly men. It is mostly men. I know some on the left are going to say, no, there's women and children too. Not to the numbers there are of fighting age men coming across. These men seem to understand the UK's asylum system. Oh,
I was stunned. But one of the guys, he said to me, because of Schengen, They can't do this and the other because of Dublin agreement. They got. I was surprised because look, previously when I've gone to the camps and I've said, oh, what do you think about like the 1 in 1 out system? They're just like, what are you talking about? We're not clued up on it. But what does that suggest about that individual and who, where they're connected to? I mean, one of the guys we spoke to was like, oh, this is Belgium. I was like, no, this is definitely France. And it's like, well, look, tell me that you've been trafficked there without telling you you've been trafficked if you don't even know what the country is that you're in.
Yeah, of course. So what was going through your mind when they were throwing rocks and Coke cans and mangoes at your head?
Not for them not to hit me.
Did you take precautions before entering the camp?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had training and stuff?
Oh, we would take these things very seriously. It's not, we don't go in there all go guns blazing with no concern for safety. It's like, as we're on the road up, I said to the producer, like, make sure that when we leave on that side of the road, because if you leave too close to where the forest is and the camp's there, they'll throw the rocks and the bottles at you and you'll be too close to it. Whereas if you're further away, that it's harder for them to hit you. I mean, what I would say is I was never too far away from the producer. We were watching each other's back the whole time. Like we take security very seriously, but equally we have to put a camera in there. We have to show what's going on because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah. So what does this investigation tell us, do you think, about the effectiveness of the French and the British relationship and the 600 odd million we've spent trying to stop the small boats?
What does it say about it? That it's not working. It's as simple as that. I mean, I think when we talk about the numbers here, right? So what is it? It's like we're getting close to 200,000 people that will come across. Now the going rate, and this is just the small boats area, right, will be between £1,000 and £4,000 per person. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of pounds made by the traffickers. So if you think about that, of like the 400 million that we've spent there, you're going up against that money that goes into these criminals' pockets. Most of the time it's absolute pure profit because they don't spend a lot of money on stuff. Not even buying the tents themselves.
Yeah. And they ain't paying tax, that's for sure.
And they've also, potentially got a nice little sideline selling life jackets, all these other things, drug networks, tons of other stuff. But, hundreds of millions. And that is just small boats. This is an industry that is worth billions and billions and billions. That's what we're up against. It's not just about spending money. It's about going, do we want to root out this problem? And I think also it's a blunt conversation that needs to happen with the French counterparts about, do you really want this to happen? Emmanuel Macron, when he stood up there with Keir Starmer, he kind of says stuff like, well, Britain thought that Brexit would result in less illegal migration. Turns out you've got more. And then you see the stuff that's going on and you go, well, if that's what the attitude is from above, are the French police also, or are the authorities also following that, being like, well, they've made their bed, so we'll just kind of allow these people to go over? Because, look, this is exposed what happens on the camps. We already know what happens on the water, which is they just need to get out into British waters and we come and pick them up.
Yeah.
Along the way, and this was one of the things that the BBC exposed recently, is that the French Coast Guard will sometimes fill up the fuel of these vessels and just they follow them all the way through to make sure, because if you've ever tried to pilot a boat, it's not an easy thing. And if it's if it's an overflowing dinghy, right, and you've got that, like, there's a lot of currents that you get on the channel, it goes all over the place, right? You start going back and all around. So it's very, very helpful if you have the French Coast Guard that guides you right the way across, and then you get picked up by border force. So there's this governmental infrastructure that supports this dangerous trade that puts huge amounts of money. I mean, we're talking about this money going back to areas of Iraq, Iran, Syria. What do they spend that money on? Where does that money go? Or even worse, or just as bad stuff.
Yeah. You might have noticed I like to wear this gold watch, gold bangle, and gold wedding ring. Gold is physical. It can't be hacked, digitally manipulated, or printed into existence by governments. That's why I'm backing today's sponsor, the Pure Gold Company, which helps people buy UK minted gold coins like Britannia's and Sovereigns tax-free, and they've built a really strong reputation for their no-pressure approach and expert guidance. Now, they were even voted the UK's best gold broker. So if you want to understand more about buying physical gold and whether it's right for you, download their free guide to buying gold at the link below. By the way, mention my name, JJ, and for 6 months, you'll get secure storage for free. And also remember, the value of gold can rise as well as fall. So if you're not sure about investing, please do seek independent advice. So what do you say British politicians misunderstand the most about what's happening on the ground?
I think it's just that, there's some silver bullet diplomatic solution with it. I mean, this is the big thing that, all of the Labour politicians that were there being like, it's just, we need to get on better with the French, or if we come in, grown-ups in the room, we'll just sort all of this out. And then you hear them there being like, maybe we shouldn't have gone so hard on Rwanda because now it looks, it's not easy stuff, right? None of them go on the ground, none of them see it. But the idea that we can win, that the gangs can be smashed is false. There has got to be some kind of radical alternative with it. I mean, the one that I've suggested on other podcasts is go to the French Coast Guard that escort them over, and when they hand them over, just charge the captain with trafficking offences.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Because, part of the problem is that over in France, you don't want people to be dying in the water. I think everybody is agreed on that. But what it's gone so far in the direction of, okay, we don't want to intervene, that we're actually going to assist this trafficking. And it's now become the traffickers are aided by the French Coast Guard. If you suddenly flipped that, I mean, look, things might get more antagonistic. You might get more vessels that are put on there. But if we just started nicking them, taking them over to the UK, that would send a pretty clear message that it is not acceptable to facilitate and encourage trafficking.
Yeah. So you spent time in the camps with migrants, with traffickers, with the officials. Are you, this may sound like a dumb question now, are you optimistic that we can ever truly stop the small boats?
The only thing that is going to, in the current scenario that we've got, the only thing that is going to deter people is that the reputation of the UK is going to plummet so much that it will no longer become more desirable to come to the UK than other places. Because actually that's what some of the migrants said to me. They said, the UK used to be this great power, but we know that they don't like migrants there, and we know that it's not easy to live there. Which, it begs, obviously the obvious question was, why are you coming there? Well, they felt they didn't have any choice. But yeah, it's hard to see with things as they are, and there be, this one in, one out thing, it was always going to fail. The only way to stop it is if everyone that came over on the small boat got sent back to France, and it was like, this is not the route that you come to the UK, and you had some kind of processing facility or some way that just to counteract what's going on. But I think it's also, the bigger one is France doesn't want these people. And in a lot of cases, another country hasn't wanted these people. In a lot of cases, another country has booted out these people.
Yeah.
Why do they think that when they come to the UK, I'm a criminal from Denmark, but I'll be all right in the UK?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So they see us as a soft touch, no? That's it. We are.
That's already quite well established. I mean, one of the things that, I've spoken about previously is why would a load of lads from Albania come all the way to the UK to work in a cannabis farm? Well, one, because in the UK we buy more cannabis than any of these other parts of Europe, so we buy more drugs than any other parts of Europe. But number two, you've got Greece next door and you've got Italy next door. Guess what? If you get caught with drugs there, they're throwing the book at you and you are spending a long time in a hellhole prison. Over here, they're like, well, you might go in for a couple of years and then we get transferred back to Albania, and it's actually pretty fine.
Yeah, good grief. Okay, so with all the evidence you collected and your special undercover reporter, are you going to take that dossier and give it to the French and say to them, look, this person's this person's this. Usually we should be looking out for these people. This marketplace is doing this. These people are selling these things. And then the French can turn around to us and say, thank you, Daily Express. Thank you, Zak Garner-Purkis.
I've been trying to get hold, and this is so telling, right? I've been trying to get hold of just who even is the right division within the French police to speak to. So we went to the national police and said, yeah, we've got this story. They came back to us saying, this is not our thing to deal with. Please go to this maritime police. We went to the maritime police and they said, this is not an issue for the maritime police. So we've gone to like a central division to try and find out who on earth might actually take responsibility for it. Of course we'd like them to tackle it. I mean, I actually just had a back and forth with the Home Office saying, well, can I give this to the NCA? I mean, like, surely, what I don't get is why the Home Office aren't saying, can we see the pictures of these criminals that you've got on camera that want to come here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, French police, the offer's open.
What are you talking to them for? Talk to me.
The French police are out there. You're not. Are you the French police? You work for the French police?
This isn't a Twitch stream, mate. Yeah.
Anyway, French police.
Give us a call. Zak, honestly, I'm so proud of you as a journalist, as a colleague, because I get to sit in the studio and flap my gums, but you're going to these dangerous zones and you're discovering the truth and then bringing it to the attention of everyone else. So thank you for your work, man.
Well, look, thanks for having me. Thanks for giving us the airtime. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Hopefully you've enjoyed that very special episode of the Expresso. I certainly did. So please like, share and subscribe and comment. Tell us what you think of this scandal. Is the only way I can really describe it. An absolute scandal. A travesty. Is our government really trying to stop the boats? It doesn't seem like it. And it doesn't seem like the French are trying to do much either. Thank you and bye-bye.